Well, Lisa, when I think about James Cameron, I'm honestly not sure whether he ultimately wants to be known as the director of Titanic, which is what I think he should be known for, or as the man who spearheaded the 3D revolution. In Avatar, he is, I think, the one filmmaker who knocked the 3D ball out of the park. And certainly, to me, in Titanic 3D, he has done a very perfect and kind of tasteful job of translating this into a 3D movie. It really works. The images are very sculptured. I enjoyed watching it. Yet one of the reasons Titanic 3D works so well is that Titanic is probably the last movie on Earth that needed to be a 3D movie. It was always a spectacular, popping off the screen experience. And it still is.
I agree with you completely. Also, we should pay attention to the fact that this was actually retrofitted 3D. And when Cameron made Avatar, he was creating it in 3D.
That's right.
The thing that struck me as I watched it in 3D was how the process still looks like a paper book pop-up, and that I was constantly aware of when they were fiddling with the depth, and as you say, they didn't need to. I keep taking off my glasses and say, oh, you know, there's Jack Dawson looking a little bit crisper. It didn't make a difference because the story, as you say, is what really pops.
Well, the whole thing that's silly about 3D, in a sense, is that movies are 3D. They always were. They create the illusion of that. So why do we need that? And Titanic didn't need it, especially because Titanic is a very old-fashioned movie. I mean, one of the things that really impressed me about it this time is that he created this classically structured film that really goes back to old Hollywood, and I think has some of the grandeur of old Hollywood. You know, there's a myth about Titanic that Titanic was a technically great movie that had a cheeseball script, that had a cheeseball love story. I don't buy that for a minute. Looking at it again, I think the script is beautifully structured.
I hadn't seen Titanic in quite a while when I went to see it at the theater, in the big theater, seeing it the old-fashioned way, which was so delicious. But seeing young Kate Winslet, seeing young Leo DiCaprio, they just looked spectacular, and I totally was swept away by the love story. And also, what I love is that moment when the story changes and it's about the ship going down. That is magnificent.
Yeah, and it's like we almost don't have the vocabulary to capture how this is really a mythological movie. It's not just this little love story put into a disaster film.
It's also about the change of a century.
That's right. It's about so many things.
Modernity.
And the Titanic itself, the ship, is the 20th century launching. And it has so many levels. It's about feminism, it's about the beginnings of sort of the modern world, and it's about how that modern world brought with it the technology that could result in disasters like this. And one change that I had in my reaction to it is that I couldn't watch the sinking of the Titanic, all that chaos and death and tragedy, without thinking of 9/11. Sure, it's a kind of coincidence, but I think it's a demonstration that this movie is about the power of technology in a way that's still with us, the power of technology to destroy.
I agree with you on all of that, and also what's interesting is, as we're talking about it in 3D, the story is bigger in this case than the movie technology, and the thing that's striking to us to watch it now again is that it is the big story. Technology and fiddling with the movies matters less than the bigger picture.
I think you're absolutely right. This is really a movie that is so humane and so much has the values of old Hollywood, and I think it's actually miraculous that James Cameron made an old Hollywood movie in a modern, in the modern blockbuster Hollywood. I think this is a movie now that should kind of shame what Hollywood's doing now. All this fantasy stuff. It shows you there is no trip like reality.
I'm with you.